he knows how to score. He's mastered the art of scoring. And what I always like to say is that you have to understand defense if you want to be an effective scorer. And he understands that very well. So he controls his defender and he gets to the spots that he wants to get to score his basket.
It's May 2026, and Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks are 8 wins away from something this franchise hasn't touched in over 50 years, an NBA championship. And the way they're getting there is unlike anything even the great Knicks teams of the past managed to pull off.
Stuff. Pouring it on. Brunson throws it up and Bridges throws it down.
Wow. Well, I'm going to take this highlight. Mikal Bridges.
No Brunson. Mark Cuban sold the team and later admitted he regretted it. On the surface, these two stories look unrelated. They're not. The rise of the Knicks and the collapse of the Mavericks both trace back to the exact same mistake. And most people assume that mistake happened in 2022 when Dallas let Brunson walk in free agency. They're wrong. It started 4 years earlier, in 2018. And here's the part that makes the whole thing almost unbelievable. Cuban didn't get Brunson wrong once. He got him wrong 3 separate times. And that final misstep accidentally built the very team that's now on the verge of ending New York's championship drought. To understand everything that follows, you have to go back to draft night 2018 because it shows exactly how the Mavericks viewed Brunson from day one. Dallas walked into that night holding the 5th overall pick, plus the first selection of the second round at number 33. There was almost no internal debate about who they wanted at the top. A young European prospect who the front office, ownership, and scout staff all agreed was the best international talent in the draft. Dallas made the move, trading up from 5 to 3 to secure him. That pick, of course, became a franchise cornerstone. What almost nobody realized that night was that Dallas was about to land a second future star in the same draft, and it nearly didn't happen. As the second round opened with Dallas on the clock at pick 33, the front office turned to one of their veteran scouts and asked who he liked. He had one name locked in: a college point guard he'd ranked as a first-round talent, someone who, in his view, had no business still being available in the second round. The problem was almost nobody else in the room agreed. The head coach wasn't interested in adding another guard. He was already planning to expand the role of a different player coming off a strong rookie year, and ownership wasn't sold either. By the scout's own account, all it took was a slow shake of the head to make clear there was no real interest. Then, out of nowhere, the team psychologist spoke up and backed the scout, essentially arguing the roster needed more players with that kind of competitive makeup. That was enough to tip the decision. Dallas used the pick on him anyway. The hesitation wasn't completely unreasonable at the time. The scouting report on him reportedly flagged him as a winner, but undersized and not especially athletic, which in today's NBA can be a real red flag. In other words, Dallas only landed one of the best second-round values of the entire draft class because one scout refused to back down, and a psychologist tipped the room at the last possible second. Getting him, it turned out, was the easy part. Keeping him is where things fell apart. Here's the part most people get wrong about this story. It's not that Brunson chose to leave Dallas. It's that Dallas chose, repeatedly, not to keep him, even when he was ready and willing to stay. Rewind to the 2020-21 season. Brunson had been improving every year, but that season things clicked in a real way. Career highs across scoring, rebounding, and assists, and a strong finish in 6th Man of the Year voting. He'd shown he could be a legitimate complementary piece on a playoff roster next to the team's franchise star. That performance made him eligible for a rookie-scale extension worth roughly $55 million over 4 years. A reasonable number for a 24-year-old who already had real chemistry in the locker room and a track record of production. For Brunson, signing it felt like a formality. He fully expected Dallas to put the offer on the table before the next season even started, and he was ready to sign immediately. There was also a personal element to the urgency. His father had played in the NBA but never landed a long-term guaranteed contract, so for Brunson this wasn't just about money. It was about security. Dallas hesitated.
Brunson ahead of steam. He barrels in deep and scores! Wow.
Closer to training camp. Training camp arrived. Still no offer. Part of the problem was that Dallas had badly misjudged his market value. Internally, The front office reportedly believed his best outside offer in free agency would land somewhere around 4 years and $45 million. That miscalculation ended up costing them everything. Even after missing that window, Dallas had more chances. Before the season tipped off, Brunson's camp made it clear, through his father, that if an extension wasn't offered by opening night, he wouldn't negotiate again during the season. The season started. Brunson took another leap. When the team's star missed time, he kept things afloat, earned a starting role, and proved he was far more than a bench piece. In January, his camp swallowed their pride and reached out again, saying he'd still sign the same extension if Dallas offered it right then. Dallas hesitated again. A third window opened before the trade deadline. His agent reportedly told the front office that if they cleared enough cap room, they could extend him immediately. Dallas did nothing. Cuban himself later acknowledged sending an internal message, essentially saying the front office wasn't going to make a decision based on family pressure. Dallas finally put the same 4-year, $55 million offer on the table after the trade deadline, the exact deal Brunson would have signed months earlier. By then, it wasn't enough. He'd proven he was the clear second-best player on the roster. The number that once felt fair now felt insulting. What happened next made things dramatically worse for Dallas. Brunson spent the rest of that season building his case, averaging solid numbers across the board. Then, in the 2022 playoffs, the team's franchise star went down with an injury and missed the first 3 games of the first round. Dallas suddenly needed Brunson to be the lead option, and he delivered. Across those 3 games, he averaged roughly 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists a night, dropping 41 points in one of them. Dallas took a 2-1 series lead without their star even playing. That stretch changed how the entire league viewed him. When the star returned, Brunson didn't fade into a secondary role. Together, they formed one of the most dangerous playoff scoring duos in the league, pushing all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Across that full playoff run, Brunson averaged over 21 points a game, and no duo in the league scored more than the two of them that postseasons. He'd proven, to himself and to everyone watching, that he could function as a primary creator and scorer. Not just a strong second option, but someone capable of carrying a team. After Dallas was eliminated, Cuban talked publicly as if re-signing Brunson was a formality, repeatedly pointing out that the team held his bird rights and could simply outbid anyone. At one point, he posted publicly that Dallas could pay him more than any other team. Brunson's private reaction to that, by his own account, was silence. While Dallas assumed they still controlled the situation, the ground had already shifted. The Knicks had been quietly building toward this for months. Shortly after Dallas was eliminated, Brunson's father joined the Knicks coaching staff. Days before free agency opened, New York's front office began aggressively clearing cap space, trading away a lottery pick and shedding salary just to create room. Dallas still believed they had the advantage. They had bird rights, deeper pockets, and the ability to exceed the cap. The only real question was how big a number Cuban was willing to offer. Reports suggest he was prepared to offer something in the range of 5 years and roughly $105 million, a strong number for a former second-round pick, with a backup plan to recoup at least a first-round pick in a sign-and-trade if things fell apart. That leverage evaporated fast. New York cleared even more cap space in a separate trade, signaling they were fully committed to making this happen. That same night, it was reported the Knicks intended to offer Brunson well over $100 million across 4 years. Dallas scheduled one final meeting in New York, with an offer reportedly able to reach as high as $175 million over 5 years, plus the advantage of no state income tax. That meeting never happened. It was canceled, with both sides pointing fingers. By that point, it didn't matter. The decision had already been made. Brunson agreed to a 4-year deal with the Knicks worth nearly double what Dallas had refused to offer barely a year earlier. The league later found that the Knicks had engaged in early conversations with his camp and docked them a second-round pick as a penalty, a minor cost that did nothing to change the outcome. Cuban's own reaction afterwards said everything. He admitted that knowing what he knew by then, he would have paid the price without hesitation. It was too late. Cuban has since argued that Dallas assumed they had a built-in advantage, the idea that because they drafted and developed him, he'd stay no matter what. Brunson has described it differently. New York became the most attractive option the moment they hired his father and aggressively cleared space to make room for him. To him, it wasn't just a basketball pitch, it was the kind of organizational commitment Dallas never fully offered. That's the core of the entire story. Dallas held the leverage for years and declined to use it every single time. The numbers since tell the rest. In New York, Brunson has turned around a franchise that had managed only one 45-win season and one playoff series victory across a roughly 2-decade stretch before his arrival. Since he's been there, the Knicks have posted at least 45 wins every season, made multiple deep playoff runs, and built a real championship contender. In Dallas, the fallout has been brutal. The team missed the playoffs the year Brunson left, made a finals run 2 years later, then underwent a stunning ownership change when Cuban sold his majority stake. Not long after, the franchise made one of the most controversial trades in recent NBA history, sending their franchise star to the Lakers. They landed a lucky number 1 pick afterward, but still finished with one of the worst records in the league, fired their front office leadership, and missed the playoffs again. One repeated failure to commit to Brunson didn't just cost Dallas a player, it reshaped the direction of 2 franchises for years to come now.